Okay. I think I'm doing this. Yeah. So I just decided to jump into this and not wait for the perfect moment. And when my brain is absorbed with everything that I'm trying to talk about, and I've never done this before, so anyway, I've been going through these files of my father's. I figured I'd just share this with you because I think it's really interesting, and you guys might think it's interesting too. There's a lot of documents on my dad. He was a journalist, and I thought maybe you guys would just be interested in me going through this stuff. So I'm going to pull up a document just out of the blue. Hopefully this works. I need to learn how to share my screen, but I didn't want to make everything perfect, so we're just going in. Okay. So I'm going to read to you guys. This is from 1969. This little excerpt, so you guys get an idea what I'm talking about. We had just gotten thrown out of Hong Kong, and we were in Washington, D.C., and my dad was interrogated by the FBI for 3 days. And there's a sort of like a booklet on my dad. And this is 1969, Washington, D.C. My dad was in the process of quitting his job at ABC News as a journalist. He had just been the bureau chief for ABC News in Moscow from 1961 to 1965. We were thrown out of Moscow, and then we moved to Hong Kong, where my dad was covering the Vietnam War. This is just basic information. And then we got thrown out of Hong Kong. This isn't specifically my dad's fault, but these are things I'm discovering. I'm reading the FBI's perspective from all this. So I'm just kind of thumbing through a bunch of files. There are so many files. And it's taken me this long for me to kind of wrap my head around what I grew up with. So I can just read a little bit of the report. He was interrogated. These are the notes. And I was just interviewed on Kurt Metzger and Duncan Trussell's podcast, Mystery Boys. And some of the comments said, like, well, what did your dad do for the CIA? And I was like, yeah, good question. What did he do? So it's all here in black and white with a lot of redactions still, even though it's been so many years. And so I think this is going to show a raw, real behind the scenes look at what is Operation Mockingbird, what it takes to be a spy / informant / double agent / sleeper agent / what else? Being in the middle of the Cold War, our fake news, what it looks like from both sides of the spectrum, and I guess that's it. So, can I share the screen? Set overlays. Okay, this is going to be a test, I guess. It's been 5 minutes, and what have I really said? I'm going to try to edit this a little bit. Just one of the titles of page 303 from this little report from the FBI. says secret. Samuel Addison Jaffe. Possible KGB approach to Jaffe in New York. And then I will be posting these so you guys can see them. But Jaffe stated that one man, they're trying to change, everybody is trying to get my dad to spy for them. Was he a spy? That's the question. Jaffe stated that one man whom he met in New York prior to his Moscow assignment, who he never saw again, was Vladimir Barkovsky, a Soviet counselor officer. I also have dyslexia and ADHD, so excuse me. Jaffe continued. He asked me to do some work. I had lunch with him at Sardi's restaurant. That's a nice restaurant. In New York. So 1969, Sardi's was a pretty big deal. Barkovsky said, and they're all, so just what I'm learning about spies is that they got a name, then they got another name, then they got another name. They often have a alphanumeric code, which I've been discovering, which is so interesting because I could not understand these files. I just, without the help of the internet and some peace and quiet and years of just, getting away from real life and deep diving into this stuff. So Barkovsky said, so Barkovsky and my dad are at lunch at Sardi's. When Soviet journalists come over to this country, they don't know the American political system. Would you, Jaffe, Sam, write out a long brief which would help them? Jaffe stated he told Barkovsky, I don't think I could do that. I would have to register as an agent. Oh, that's a good place to pop in. This is right. It's right there. I mean, this happened so many times because I was like, why do they think he's a spy? Jaffe continued. He got panicky, that's Barkovsky, and said, we will pay you well. And it's got some hand notes in here. Russia, New York. And then it says, looks like Austria. In discussing his Soviet contacts, Jaffe also stated, another man who squirreled me around in Moscow, and that was from 1961 to 1965, was Nikolai Kalinin. I don't speak Russian. I knew him very well. He was assigned to me. Okay. What does that mean? The last I heard, he was in Vienna as press officer. And then there's a lot of blank space, and that's a secret at the bottom again, page, and this is number 32, but it's page 303 of a bunch of documents that were released in, sometimes it says at the top, I don't know, this could be 2022 release or 2025 release that Trump did. So this is just a little teeny bit, but this is how they get you. And this is what the FBI wanted to know. This is what the CIA wanted to know. If you're a journalist in the 50s and the 60s, I would assume probably in the 70s, be a little different, but you are constantly, I mean, you got to meet people, you got to do your stories if you're in Russia or Soviet Union, but you're going to be constantly meeting people and they're going to be asking you to do these things. This is pretty obvious, right? You know, would you write a long brief which would help them? And this is helping the Soviet journalists, but it's not helping the Soviet journalists. Obviously, this is a way to get in and get paid by KGB. So I guess somebody who's young and stupid, which was my dad, but might just do it, right? But for anybody who doesn't know about the Cold War, this is like heavy duty stuff, like life or death, which I'm still trying to wrap around. The next page goes into Jaffe's dating of foreign nationals in Russia. Jaffe, so it's just James Bond stuff. I don't really have a lot of like secret weapons and cool cars and stuff, but there's definitely some ladies. It's definitely the same time period. I grew up watching James Bond. And now I kind of know why. Jaffe was asked if he dated any other Soviet girls. Okay, so he had dated some. That's Galia, which I'll talk about later. This is before he met my mom, hopefully, but they met in Moscow. So that's a whole other story. She was a New Zealand citizen. He replied he dated about 3 Russian girls. He continued, it's my dad, the first 2 or 3 that I moved into an apartment at 2 a.m. The first 2 or 3 months, there we go, that I moved into the apartment at about 2 a.m., there was a knock on the door, and I opened it, and here was this attractive blonde looking for some Arab. She was loaded. So here's this attractive blonde, I would assume Russian woman, knocking at his door out of the blue at 2 a.m. looking for an Arab. I mean, this is right out of the movies, right? Like, this is crazy. And she was drunk, or she was pretending to be drunk. She said, please let me use your John. The next thing I knew, she had the bathroom door locked. When I got the door open, she was undressed. Okay, so this is compromise. This is compromising. This goes, I believe that all this stuff is connected to the stuff that happened in the 70s, obviously, in DC, with the CIA, and it goes right up to now people are understanding a little bit about the Epstein files. But there's a guy named Craig Spence in the 70s that was doing this with cameras in the apartments, and the Franklin scandal. Lawrence King also had a place in DC with cameras. So this is the Russian version, right? But it might not have been Russian. It could also be the CIA testing my dad to see how vulnerable he is to being turned. This is how crazy it gets. And this is my dad's world. This was my world growing up. And I guess it's still my world because now I'm trying to understand it. So this is a really raw version. I will try to make it more something else. I'm trying to not produced. I really want to keep this raw, but I might be able to do this, and pull up photos and stuff. I just didn't want to spend time doing that right now. I just want to get something out there. Okay, so 2 a.m., probably 1961. My dad had been to Moscow before to cover the U-2 spy plane that was shot down by Francis Gary Powers. My dad was not bad looking. It's weird because he's my dad, but charming, funny, hilarious. And so here we are. She was loaded and she said, please let me use your John. And then he opens the bathroom door and there's a naked Russian lady in there at like 2 a.m. I got her dressed. I sat up with her all night. Jaffe then stated that he realized that the girl through whom KGB arranged for him to meet, Slava, that's what got my dad into trouble. So Slava is a code name, was a KGB agent, was a setup. He continued, I knew Fedorov before. There is no question he is with KGB and an APN representative. I don't know what that is, so I'll have to look that up. Okay. Jaffe said he was never intimate in a place where KGB, could photograph. Oh yeah, how do you know that, Dad? Okay, but that's what he said. I had a small apartment and I looked everywhere for cameras. Well, later we find out they at least were listening to him. It says in this file. And this is just one little minute. Jaffe advised that another Soviet girl whom he dated was Tanya, last name unknown, who spoke excellent English. He continued, after I was married, she met my wife and said, you will never keep him. He's mine. Oh my God. Jaffe said he thinks this girl was connected with KGB. Oh, really? You think that she was KGB, Dad? God, I wish he was around. He died at 55 years old, less than a year after the judge cleared my dad's name for being a spy. Sleeper agent, double agent. But I'm realizing now that just because a federal judge clears your name they're all in on it. Oh, it doesn't really matter. I know he wanted his name to be cleared, but, it's so complicated. Okay, so this Tanya lady, after I was married, she met my wife. I've never read this before, and said, "You will never keep him. He is mine." That's really nice. This is my mom, who's from New Zealand, she's about 20. My dad's about 35 at this point, and this is 1961 in Moscow. This document is from 1969, so just like about 8 years later. So my parents got married in 1963, and I was born in Moscow in 1965. Jesus, I just never knew. My poor mom. Although there were times when my dad said that she was a spy. So I don't even. If you've seen The Americans, that's like a drop in the bucket for this story. Okay, I've been live for 16 minutes. I hope it's not boring. So he said, so my dad thinks that maybe this lady is a KGB agent. This is Tanya, one of many. He said she was allegedly a student at Moscow University and went out with foreigners. That's a good cover. Jaffe concluded, after I met Slava, he told me to stay away from her. And I did. Next paragraph. Jaffe was asked if he dated any other foreign nationals. He stated, I dated a Finnish girl who was studying ballerina at the Bolshoi Theater, the primo ballerina of the Helsinki Ballet Company, who was of Russian origin. Jaffe continued, I took out the second secretary of the Danish embassy for a long time. She later transferred. She wanted to get married. Wow. I can probably find photos of all these people. Well, at least some of them maybe, or people in that time period. Jaffe stated he didn't suspect that any of the non-Russian girls whom he dated were connected with KGB. Notice that in the documents, they never use, if you're being like a professional intelligence person, they don't use the word the. There's no the KGB, the CIA, the FBI. So it's connected with KGB, which is interesting. He, by chance so what? Okay, hold on. I'm terrible at reading. He indicated that he met these girls at the American House Club by chance. Yeah, right. And he does not believe the associations were KGB inspired. Jaffe also stated, another girl I dated for a while, okay, this is not 2 or 3, for a while, for quite a while, was a beatnik type. He continued, my wife, before we were married, dated a Russian, allegedly a student. Okay, I did not know that. So my mom is in Moscow. She gets herself from New Zealand to Moscow at about 22 years old. And she is from Invercargill, not just New Zealand, not Christchurch, not Wellington, not Auckland. She is from Invercargill, which Mick Jagger said was the butthole of the world. And somehow little Elizabeth June Georgeson Jaffe gets herself on a boat to London, London to Switzerland, Switzerland to Moscow to work for the American embassy as a governess. Met my dad, supposedly at a party. He was very charming, and they got married. I hope she's not an agent of somewhere, but I don't know. She's dead too, and she wouldn't talk about this stuff, and neither do my mom's friends. Okay, so now he's dated a woman studying at the Bolshoi Theater, primo ballerina of the Helsinki Company. I did ask my mom's and my dad's really good friend, who is from Finland, who married a State Department guy, and if she, because she was in Moscow, if she knew this, knew of any, maybe she'd heard about this Finnish ballerina. She said she didn't. They're very short answers with these people. which is okay. I don't know. But Jaffe also stated another girl I dated for quite a while was a beatnik type. Okay, so it's a beatnik, the ballerina, the woman who showed up and got naked in the bathroom, Galena, who there was a car accident and she disappeared. That's a lot already. And then there was another couple ones. Yeah, and then my mom dated a Russian student. That's not good. You just can't do that in those days. He tried to set her up, but she pulled out because she was working for the American Embassy. Okay, what does that mean? My wife, before we married, dated a Russian, allegedly a student. Allegedly. That's a popular word nowadays. Okay, so some Russian guy, and he tried to set her up, but she pulled out because she was working for the American Embassy. And who knows? I mean, what I heard was that she was an au pair governess, but it was for there's the Davies, which is like Ambassador Davies, and there's another ambassador. Again, I need to fill all this out with photos and stuff so you guys can be more entertaining, I guess. But I think it's kind of entertaining just as it is. Okay, then the next page, information requested by Slava. In response to inquiries, Jaffe stated that Slava, quote unquote, was especially interested in important current events such as the Cuban Missile Crisis. That comes up actually kind of right now. Wasn't in the news today on the 11th of August that our president is trying to get in to do some stuff to Cuba. I mean, he's been doing that for a while, but so it's all connected, which I think this is worth talking about. Yeah, so in response to inquiries, Jaffe stated Slava was especially interested in important current events, such as the Cuban Missile Crisis, things like that. What our United States reactions would be. Jaffe also stated he would ask me about some guy at the American Embassy, such as Dick Gabby, Gabey, and Manuel Oliver. Jaffe indicated that his response would be that he did not get close to these people, or he only had a drink with them, but did not learn anything significant. This is what my dad repeats in these interrogations. He keeps saying, "Oh, I didn't learn anything. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can believe my dad. I don't think the FBI believed my dad or the CIA believed my dad, but I don't think anybody believed anybody, even within those agencies." Oh, the more you dig, the deeper it gets. Okay. So I can look into these guys, Dick Gabby and Manuel Oliver. And of course, Slava, I got to do a lot more research on that. And hey, if any of these people are alive, I would love to talk to them. Most of them won't talk. I've tried, but, or journalists that are reading this stuff or spy people or whatever. Slava, would say they talked to some of the correspondents. Okay. Okay. So the guys at the American Embassy, Dick and Manuel, they do talk to some correspondents, Slava is saying. Slava would say, they talked to some of the correspondents. I would say, this is my dad, I never have an occasion because with radio, ABC radio, you don't go into depth. Okay, that is just not true. None of it's true. Plus, all those embassy guys are spies too. Or I guess about 80%. Jaffe also stated he was also very much interested in the Time Incorporated group that came over there, Russia. What do they say? What do they talk about? Okay, so this is Slava trying to find out this group from Time Incorporated, which was CIA. Time Incorporated, Time Life, where the had a very, this is Operation Mockingbird, sort of. This is our media, which my dad talks about later on. A few years after this, he does a testimony at the church committee about the CIA and the FBI working, or specifically CIA working with the media. Jaffe stated, I said they're looking, so my dad says that, what do they talk about? Slava says, I couldn't make this like a play. Jaffe stated, I said they are looking into expanding trade. Jaffe asked what to list any business or political groups visiting Russia in, which Slava expressed. Jaffe was asked to list any businesses or political groups visiting Russia, in which Slava expressed great interest. Jaffe mentioned the Time Incorporated Businessman Group, the Rockefeller visit, and a Business International Group. You got Time, you got Rockefeller, and then I don't know what BIC is, but that sounds suspicious. I mean, this is a world of just craziness. Jaffe was asked why KGB would have considered him a good contact or recruited agent. He replied, I don't know why they would consider me a good contact or recruited agent, because there was nothing I could furnish them. He continued, I could see why they thought I was so interesting. I figure they want something in the future. Yeah. Jaffe said that Slava would ask him if he was aware of or expected to be with a particular group. And Jaffe said Slava would ask him if he was aware or expected to be with a particular group. And Jaffe would answer in the affirmative, or, okay. Is that a sneaky way of saying Slava would, I guess, know what's happening, and my dad would either say affirmative yes or no, that my dad would be with these groups that were, I guess, visiting. That can get you into trouble with the FBI and the CIA. Jaffe would answer the affirmative or would indicate he might cover such a group. However, he would tell Slava, I have no entry to these people. Jaffe continued, he consulted me about several people over there. My answer always was, I know the guy. I had a drink with him, but I didn't get close, I said. My dad said, I have no real reason. Jaffe indicated that he merely furnished Slava with his opinions concerning matters of interest to Slava. Jaffe concluded that Slava made no arrangements to recontact him after his expulsion from the Soviet Union. He stated, I never saw this man since. Jaffe stated he saw 2 Soviet engineers aboard a Soviet ship in Hong Kong and had them to lunch at his residence, which was where we lived in Hong Kong. However, he initiated that contact himself. Okay, so you can see why it's just a tricky situation, right? You got these Russians who are sort of press people talking to another journalist, my dad, who's American, asking him questions. And I think if you just answer the question, you could be considered working for the KGB. KGB. Okay, March 21st, 1969. Identifications of Soviet contacts. On March 21st, 1969, when requested to review numerous photographs of Soviet nationals and comment concerning his recollections of them, Jaffe stated he was a very poor recollection of names. That's true. I am too, much more visual. However, he has a very good recollection of faces of individuals he has met. Jaffe made the following comments concerning the first group of photographs displayed to him. And it's got like all these like little C's next to every little paragraph, and they wrote Russia. And then there's a very, 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 very long list of Russian names and their titles as far as the CIA was concerned, and my dad's notes on them. And I think a couple of these people are still alive. And then there's there's these alphanumeric codes, WFT-2. These are informants. These are like top secret informants. Oh, there's an S next to that. I don't know what that means. I think that means like super security. That's a handwritten S. So not only are they asking my dad to inform on all these Russians and Americans and other European, or just everybody that he comes across in these early 60s in Moscow. And he's telling them back this time in 1969 in Washington. Then there are informants informing on my dad. So there's some notes there. And then I looked up one of these guys, and he's a really famous, what do you call it? White supremacist. And I'm like, how did I don't know, like famous in not a good way. That's the guy, I think T2, who was commenting on my dad. WFT-2. Oh no, sorry, that was Suslov has been identified by WFT-2. Oh, yeah, okay. So Suslov, I gotta make some charts. Was the Soviet diplomat who was an operative contact of KGB. Okay, so it just goes on and on and on. I don't know if anybody's interested in this stuff, but I am. And I thought maybe I'd bring you guys in on my search, because some of it's interesting, some of it's terrible, some of it's funny. There's sex, there's a lot of kooky stuff happening in Moscow and Hong Kong and Vietnam and Washington, D.C., and the UN in New York, and got a lot of big names. We got a lot of fellow journalists, and a lot of university people. We got China, Russia, United States, Canada, and some European countries, and Zhou Enlai, however you say it now. Nobody's watching, so whatever. It's incredible. Yeah, this is probably a really weird video, but I just thought I'd just do something, get it out there. Oh, somebody wrote already. I can't believe nobody's here. I heard you on Kirkmeister podcast. One of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. Well, that's very nice. Thank you. I'll try to be more organized, and I'm going to figure out I'm going to get some apps so I can share the screen and stuff. So I apologize. The way, it's a half an hour, just a little tidbit with me, just like not caring, just putting something raw up there because I've had too many excuses. And I hope you can hear me. I do have a microphone. I can hook that up too, but this is crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. It's real. And I really have to realize that this is like life and death stuff too. Like this isn't a TV show. This is my life, this is my dad's life, my mom's life, it's a really good peek into the Cold War and its aftermaths. And it kind of starts in 1950. Maybe it starts before then, but yeah, but I just want to get more specific. I wanted to show you guys what my dad did do for KGB, GSR, I think it is, Chinese intelligence, British intelligence. I don't know if my mom did stuff, but yeah. So it's crazy. And at this point, just to give you some background, while this was going on, we had moved into a place called the Irene, which was an apartment building. It's much more interesting if I show you pictures, right? Give me some feedback because I haven't put anything together yet. Obviously, that takes some time, but I don't want to make this too raw. Like I do want to give you guys some context in visuals and stuff, and I should be good at that. But the Irene was an apartment building. It's still there in Chevy Chase, Maryland, on the border of Washington. And I don't know why we moved there, but it was full of spies, like full of spies. And Kennedy's Kennedy's secretary, JFK's secretary lived there. Her last name was Lincoln. And it talks about people that my dad was telling the FBI about who lived there. And my mom was saying that she saw the wife of another KGB agent at the pool, just going to the pool on the roof. And I do remember living there. I didn't know. I just did. I was too young. I was like 5 years old, 4 years old. But yeah, this is like the real life Americans, and we ended up living in Bethesda, Maryland, and we shared a driveway with Clarence Larson and Jane Larson, his wife, and their 2 children. And he was head of the Atomic Energy Commission. So right across from our house, it's another house, and I mean, that's a big deal. Like, he worked on the first atomic bomb. So did Jane's father. Is pretty well known if you know about all that stuff. So that's also like just kind of like an amazing person. So I don't think you could really throw a rock in Bethesda, Washington, Virginia area in the 60s and 70s, probably now, and not hit some heavy duty person. Okay. I do want to tell stories. I not know how to do this exactly, but I could just peek around. I mean, the documents start from 1950, I think, or they refer to 1950. I think they start, my dad was born in 29, so they start in he was 25 years old when Hoover gets involved. J. Edgar Hoover, who was head of the FBI. And then my dad died in 1985. And then the documents, the latest dump was last year, which there were a lot of documents from the JFK assassination documents. So anyway, I keep fixing my hair. I got to stay still and be more of anyway, okay, it's 37 minutes and I got stuff to do. Thank you for listening. And I will talk to you guys again. Just if anybody sees this, just let me know what you want to see, how you want to see it, and I will adapt. And I will try to do this at least once a week because there's just so much to get through. I think it'll help me. And then maybe it'll be a book or a documentary or something. Okay, that's it. Thank you. And das vidanya.